Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so very excited to have you here. Since we have officially been graced by October's presents, I figured it was the perfect time to start reading horror books. Now, if you saw a while back, probably last October, I did a video reading horror books for a week, and I only read about 3 books in that video. I decided in reading those books that they weren't scary, right? They weren't scary. And usually, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I feel like usually whenever we're trying to watch horror or read horror or anything like that, we are looking to be scared, right? I am looking to be scared. But I've not found a horror book yet that actually scared me. So in this video, we are going to be reading horror books all of October. So we're not going to do it for just a week. We're going to be doing it for the whole entire month. And we are going to try to decide if horror books are actually scary or not. I know I just said it, but I have not yet found a scary horror book. I've not read a book that I feel like has actually been scary, and that's something that I am on a journey, I'm on a hunt for. I want to take this month to see if I can find a book that's actually scary. Will we be able to do it? I don't know. I haven't read a lot of horror books at all yet, but we're gonna be reading some this month, obviously. So we'll see what I think. See if I can find anything, see if any of them are scary. I don't know what to expect. I do think that a lot of horror books now are very heavy on just torture, so I don't know if I'm going to be finding just a lot of that and then not necessarily anything spooky, but who knows. I have quite a few books to choose from. I've been downloading a lot of them on my Kindle recently, and then I do have some on my shelf. So I'm gonna try to make my way through those. I'll try to come up with a rating system for scariness. Again, I don't have really anything to compare it to, so I guess just if it gives me any type of spooky feeling, I'll come up with some type of rating based off of that. So we'll rate off of the overall likeness of the book and then also how scary I think it was. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be deep diving into all of the nitty-gritties involving horror books, and we're going to try to figure out my opinions, my scariness ratings, my regular ratings, and my thoughts on horror books as a whole. I figured it was just about time that I come in for an update. So that's what we're gonna do. I've read a couple books now so far, finished them, and I'm just gonna kind of let you know my thoughts on those, then we'll pick up some other books. I started with Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. Not gonna lie, I almost DNF'd it. I think the first maybe 20-30% of it was fine. It was very weird, I will say that. Once I got past the family stuff, I just kind of gave up. We're following Noah. He's the main character, and his parents end up getting like indoctrinated, possessed by whatever the case is, the news channel that they watch. So they're super obsessed with, it's like a play on Fox News, but it's called Just the Facts or Facts News, something like that. They're obsessed with that, and they end up getting possessed like through that stream of media. His mom nonstop talks about this to him. He doesn't care, he's not interested in it. But one day he ends up trying to reach out to his mom, and he's not able to get a hold of her, which he says is very unlike her. So he ends up paying his family a visit to try to see what's wrong with them, and lo and behold, he does not like what he sees. His parents are practically no longer his parents, and they've just succumbed to the Great Awakening. So it's really interesting the way that this book was written. I'm not saying that this is something that like I see happening, but I think the concept of getting possessed by social media or just being so engulfed in social media that people are acting crazy like this is not 100% far off from where we are already. It's definitely just a very intense comparison of showing us kind of what we could be like versus where we are now. So I think that the book trying to show that and get that across was neat. I thought that it was very interesting, and that's a very good comparison to make, I guess, but I just didn't care. enough about it. Like I said, we go see Noah and his family, and then we also see his brother and his brother's family throughout this. So we're getting a bunch of POVs through this, seeing all the different ways that they are being influenced by whatever type of media they're consuming. Again, whether it be social media, influencers, just friends, or news, all that type of stuff. We're watching all of that heavily influence this family. And then after that, it's just kind of boring in my opinion. I didn't like whatever came after that. So even just kind of going through the beginning stages of the book, it was just not interesting in my opinion. It was fine, it was what it was, but I don't think it was anything that just spoke to me or piqued my interest all that much. I think maybe like 30% of the way through I was like, I don't really want to be reading this anymore, and then by the time I got to the third part, I think I was pretty much over it and I really almost DNF'd it. But I figured I didn't want to DNF my first book of the series, so I definitely stuck with it. Do I regret that? I don't know, but you know, I can say that I read it. This is the first one that we got down, and I'm proud that I stuck with it, I guess. So that was the first one. I wanted to DNF it, so if that tells you anything, that's that. Then after I finished that one, I decided I wanted to read something really short, a little palate cleanser, if you will, so I picked up Graveyard Shift. This book, I'm not gonna lie, was so underwhelming. Like, very underwhelming, and I will be honest, I don't even know what I read. Is that my fault? Yeah, probably, but it didn't have enough substance in the book to make me want to read it. The idea behind it's very interesting. It's 5 people. They all work night shifts, so graveyard shifts. They all come together for a break, lunch break, I don't know, whatever their break is throughout the day. They all come to this cemetery and they find a random hole there one day, even though nobody's been buried in the cemetery for like 100 years, something like that. They're pretty much just trying to figure out who dug the hole, why, yeah. That's that. I really don't even know what to say, because again, I don't even remember what this was. It was so short, the characters were like whatever. I don't know if I wasn't reading this, and that's the problem. That's probably the problem. But there was nothing in here that was valuable. I don't know, maybe that's harsh, maybe that's aggressive, mean, whatever. I just didn't care for it, right? I didn't care for any of the characters. There wasn't anything that stuck out to me that I wanted to remember at all. And also, this takes place in like a 24-hour period. This takes place within a day, maybe an 8-hour shift. I didn't care. I'm sorry, I didn't care. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, I was excited about reading it and it being short and sweet, whatever. I just think that if there was a little bit more time to dive into it, get into the characters, maybe I would have liked it a little bit more, but I didn't, so there's that. And then I just came back in from finishing Spread Me. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think that the title of this book was going to remain a true theme throughout the story, but it did. That's kind of the whole point of this story. What was I on? I was on page 80 out of like 158. I almost DNF'd it. I was like, is this getting any better? Like, what are we doing? Am I going to even enjoy this? And I looked on Goodreads to see what the book was about, and then I looked at some people's reviews, and I figured that after that I really wasn't gonna care for it, but I would just stick through it just to see what happens. It didn't even sound super appealing when I went back and read the blurb of what the book was about, so that one's on me. I picked a bad one. But this book was something. It was very something. Without getting into too much detail, the main character, I don't even remember what her name is, but the main character is stuck with like 4 other people, something like that, in the desert. They are on this 6 something month long scientific study, whatever, I don't know what it's called, but they're out there doing something in the desert when they find this creature, specimen, whatever. They end up taking the specimen back into their lab, and then the specimen starts possessing them, inhabiting them, killing them, something like that. So we're just following all of them, trying to see if they can make it out of the bunker, desert, whatever lab that they're in alive. And the main character has a thing for the specimen. Look, I can't make it up. I can't make it up. She has a thing. She is attracted. She has some sort of, I don't even know. I don't even know how you can come up with this. But whatever it is, she's got it. She is attracted to the viruses. That's what tickles her fancy. So the whole time that the virus or specimen or whatever is infecting people, she is into it. She's aroused, hence the title. That's not something that I ever thought that I would read. I don't know what to say about it. I'm gonna have to severely sit and think on my rating for this one, unfortunately. And I'm gonna have to let you know when I get to it. But that was that. That's what I just read. This is why I say I think that I'm going to be very picky on horror books. I think that there is a lot of room for things that I don't like in this genre. Don't get me wrong, I already knew that going into it, but I am trying to pinpoint what I do like and what I don't like about it. I have read other horror books that I have enjoyed, but I haven't found one that A, really is just mind-bending to me, and B, I have not found one that scares me. Those are the 3 that I've read so far. I'm going to read something on my Kindle, I think, right now. I don't know what I want to read. This is my problem. Okay, I'm trying to save the books that I think are going to be scarier. I'm trying to save those more towards the end so that way I'm not starting with them. But I think at this point I'm trying to read books that I don't think are going to be scary. And that's the problem. I want to pick something that is. So I'm gonna go through here, see which ones look a little nerve-wracking to me, and then pick one from there and then get started on that. I might just peek through really quick and we'll see if there's any that we can find. I have a couple on here that look actually kind of scary. We'll try this one. 2 hours and 43 minutes. I can get behind that. I am going to start on Wreckage. Looks a little scary. I will let you know what I think of this, unless if there's anything pressing that I need to tell you beforehand. I feel like it's time for a little update because I'm going to jump into a different subgenre, but I finished Wreckage. This, I would not say was a very scary book at all. I really don't know what to say about this book without spoiling anything of it, so we'll keep it to very few words. This definitely gave off the same vibes as The Last House on Needless Street, very much plot twisty throughout the whole thing. We're trying to watch this man get out of a plane crash and then also try to battle with everything that he's got going on mentally. So it's very interesting to read. It almost reminds me of like Shutter Island or something. I think that's what it's called. That movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. That one was very twisty, mind-bending type of thing, and this kind of reminds me of that. But I really enjoyed it. This is probably one of my favorite ones that I've read so far in this video. Then I decided to go ahead and pick up Nothing But Blackened Teeth. This one was a very short, simple read. This one was not bad. Definitely was not super eventful. There wasn't like a lot of stuff going on. It was less eventful than I was expecting. I think I was expecting a little bit more to be happening and all of that, but I'm not mad about it by any means. Not bad. Definitely not bad at all for such a small book. I really can't complain too much. So far, I've definitely been reading more tame books. I've tried to read some of the ones that I don't think are going to be as scary, just to kind of save the more scary ones for the end. I don't think that's working. I don't think that I found any of these scary at all, so we're going to kind of jump ships a little bit. I'm going to get into slightly, maybe, some of the splatterpunk books that I have on my Kindle. At least that's what Goodreads is classifying these as. Whether or not they are, I don't know, but that's what it says, so I'm just going off of that. I have about 3 on my Kindle from the Goodreads list. I'm gonna start from the bottom and kind of work my way up. But the first one that I have on here looks like I have Cows. I think we're gonna start with that one. That one has a 2.70 star rating. We'll see what I think. Supposedly these are gonna be really gory and bloody and all of that, and maybe that's what I need to be scared. Who knows? I don't know, that's for sure. But I am going to start that one. Hopefully not get too scared. Hopefully I'll find some books that I can actually say were scary. But who knows? We're coming up on the end of the month and I've been reading only horror books this month, so I need to find something that's worthwhile. But I'm gonna get into Cows, see what I think. See if I'm a splatterpunk girly or not. I was not planning on speaking a word about cows until I read a couple more books, or at least finished my splatterpunk books. I think these are going to be the end of my reading journey for this video, but I could not help it. I have to talk about this and get this off my chest because I think this is one of the worst books I've ever read. This is another one of those that I almost DNF'd. I'm not gonna say I fully finished it because I think the last 3 chapters I literally just skimmed through them as fast as possible because I was so done with it. I have never wanted to not finish a book more. Not only was this probably the grossest book I've ever read, but it was boring. Like, I figured that if it was going to be super gross and gory, whatever, that there was at least going to be a point to it and not just gory just to be gory. You know what I mean? I thought that there was going to be a good plot. I thought that I was going to enjoy the storyline, or at least somewhat enjoy the storyline more than this. For example, I don't think Tenders of Flesh is super gory. I don't think that it's, you know, anything crazy whatsoever. The plot is a little out there, but in terms of the actual what's going on, I don't think there's a lot of intense scenes. But there was a lot of intense scenes, but I didn't like it. Tenders of Flesh, I at least thought it was a good book. Like, I liked the storyline of it and I enjoyed reading it. I wasn't bored to death reading it, trying to figure out what was going on. But this, I didn't get it. I don't know if it was me not understanding or if I was supposed to read more into it. I know that I read some Goodreads reviews on the book and some people gave it a 5-star, said that it was so, I don't even know, just heartwarming, and the way that he dealt with topic. Like, I didn't get any of that out of it. Not at all. What I got out of this is that it was gross. And I have a very, very high tolerance. I feel like there is not much that really gets me in a book. But this book, it's obviously not for me, okay? So if this is your type of thing, I'm not trying to come at you, whatever. Enjoy it, fine. I didn't enjoy it. I have very, very specific things in life that just hit me to my core of gross. This was that. This hit my core of things that I actually find gross. Things that I think are disgusting. And I don't even, it's just a lot. This was a lot. This was a lot to read, to process. I don't even think that I processed any of it. I don't want to process any of it. There was about 3 different points where I almost DNF'd it. The first one was about, I don't know, it was not that far into the book. By the time the first instance happened with the mom, and I will say this, my thing that I can't get behind is feces. I can't do that. That's my one thing that I know of off the top of my head that I can't do. And the first time that comes into play, I almost DNF'd it because I just can't do that. I can't. It's disgusting. I have an internal gag reflex that I can't do anything about. It's just there, and that was triggering it severely. Then we hit the last time that is involved in the book, and I was done. I was so over it at that point because it had happened multiple times. And I'm trying to just skim over it and pretend like it's not that big of a deal. To me, it's obviously a massive deal because it's driving me insane because I'm trying not to gag. By the final time that happens, that we have to deal with any of that, I almost just shut the book and was done with it. But again, I knew it was going to be the final time. So I was kind of hopeful that maybe it would get better and that the plot would thicken and I would understand it a little bit more and enjoy it. No, not at all. And again, at that point where I was trying not to DNF it, there was another thing that just, like nails on a chalkboard type of thing. That's what I was feeling reading it. I guess if you can write a book that you're making me feel things like that, you're making me want to gag and you're making me like physically cringe up like that, I guess one could say that that's good writing. There was so much other stuff that was happening aside from that I didn't like. Obviously, just whatever I expected. I expected foul language. I expected just the use of words that I get repulsed by. There's a certain type of describing things and a certain type of language that just does not set right with me at all, and this was throughout the entire book again. So that was another thing that just, on top of everything else that was happening, I couldn't stand that. And then also just the things that were happening, the trigger warnings, the things that people were doing, The whole book was atrocious. Okay, if you're into that stuff, then this is probably the one for you. It had just about every trigger warning that I could think of. Literally, if you plan on reading this at all, if this is something that you think you're curious in, I would probably just stay curious. I don't think that it's worth reading at all. I don't think it's something that you should pick up just to see what it is, just to try it out and see what you think. Not worth it at all, like at all, in my opinion. And check your trigger warnings. Check your trigger warnings. Anyways, I don't know how long I've been talking about this. I'm gonna stop talking about this. I am going to pick up another book probably a little bit later on today, but I'm going to start 100% Match. This one was a step up or the next book above Cows whenever I looked at the Splatterpunk section on Goodreads. It does have a little bit higher of a rating. I think Cows is 2.7 something. This one's like a 3.1 maybe. I don't know, but I don't know anything about it. I don't want to read anything about it. I kind of just want to get through it. Hopefully it's a short little guy. Okay, yeah, 96 pages. That's the one thing that I will say that I do enjoy about horror books. They are usually a lot smaller, and I think that a smaller horror book, if done right, like Tenders to Flesh, it can be really good and I can really enjoy it. Maybe I'm just picking them poorly. That's probably what it is. So far, I don't really think I've cared for much that I've read this month. But anyways, we'll see what I think. This is what it's looking like. We'll see what I think of this one. 96 pages, I should be able to get through that fairly quickly. After Cows, I don't have high expectations at all. I don't think that I am a splatterpunk girl. I don't think that that's a genre that I'm into, and I'm okay with that. We got 2 more books for me to actually let you know if that is accurate or not, and I will let you know. This one has not been very gory, like at all. It's been very sexual but not gory. I don't know if I believe the Goodreads section on it anymore because the last one was not very gory either. That's just what we're looking at right now. We'll see if it gets worse, but so far neither this one or the last one has even come close to comparing to Cows. But I have about 43 minutes left in the book. That's what it is predicting. So we should get done with this relatively quickly, and then I can let you know my thoughts on Splatterpunk. See if that is something that I'm into or not. I feel like I've never been so flabbergasted before. I just gasped. I audibly gasped. I don't know what I was expecting, but I will tell you it was not what we're getting right now. This is something else. Ridiculous. This is so ridiculous. This is what I get for not putting a case on this thing. That was something. That was not anything that I could have ever expected. I just finished Womb. Before that, I finished 100% Match, So we'll start with that one and then move on into this one. 100% Match was a little bit more intriguing. It was definitely more something that I liked. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it definitely wasn't a super gross book. There was little gross bits and details thrown in there that were happening, but it wasn't just the entire book was gross, and they were trying to make a plot out of being gross. So that was definitely a lot more enjoyable, a lot more stomachable, and a lot better to read. I thought that there was a lot more substance in that book. Do I think it was as gory as Cow's? Absolutely not. Nowhere on the same level at all, but it was a fairly short book. And I will say I expected the ending by the time we got to it. It doesn't mean that it wasn't still interesting. I was definitely in favor of that ending, so I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad that I guessed it, because that, I feel like, to me, is better than the alternative. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't love it, but I didn't dislike it. It was decent. It was not bad. Again, nowhere near as gory, bloody, disgusting, anything of the sorts as Cow's. When I tell you, I'm not gonna talk about it really, but Cow's was just gore and gross, and they were trying to make a plot out of that. Versus this, they were just kind of sprinkling stuff into it. Which, this one was higher on the list in the splatterpunk section on Goodreads. I don't know if it was like a 1 to 20, whatever, whichever one is the highest. I think that one book, it's like Playground or something like that. When I think of ultimate gore, that's kind of the book that I think of. That was at number 1. And so Cow's was the least of the 3 that I read, so I figured that that one's going to be the most casual, chill. No, not true, not at all. And then I got to Womb. I don't know what I was expecting. I figured that since it was a cabin in the wood type of thing, spooky motel in the woods, I figured that it was going to be really, really intense. And then also this was number 2 on the list. This was the second highest under the subgenre. So again, I figured it was gonna be really, really crazy. Motel room, kind of off the beaten path. That's just ultimate scenery for something extremely intense and very violent. I'm not gonna say it wasn't violent and extremely intense. Obviously it was, and the subject matter for it was not good. Like, I'm not saying that we need to condone this whatsoever, but the actual plot in this book and the way that the book was progressing, it definitely kept me very interested. I didn't really see where we were going with it. Obviously I knew something bad was gonna happen, but the bad thing that happened, never in my life would I have guessed what happened in this. Never would I ever have thought that that was a possibility. It absolutely, it just blew my mind. Anyways, absolutely, I think I have a mosquito bite on my ear also. Blew my mind, absolutely insane. Definitely like the craziest plot twist I've ever experienced in my life. People want to talk about Alice Feeney, whatnot, all of those books, crazy plot twists. Don't get me wrong, like they're great. But this was like a whole different level. I gasped. I literally gasped when I put 2 and 2 together. I was like, no, no. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. He like verbally explained what was gonna happen, and I gasped because I didn't expect it. Anyways, all in all, this one was crazy. Again, subject matter, not great. Very intense subjects, very intense things that were happening. Trigger warnings, big trigger warnings. But this one had my jaw on the floor. It was definitely a lot more tame than Cow's, not as gross. I don't even think that there was a bunch of gross stuff happening in this. Like I said before, it was a lot more sexual, so there wasn't as much blood, guts, any of that stuff, but there was a lot of sexual things happening throughout the entire story, and just the whole gist of the actual story that was happening, that was, the whole thing was just a sexual encounter. Do with that what you will. Again, I'm not the type of person that really likes a bunch of sexual stuff in books. I will say it made sense. I don't like spicy stuff for the sake of having spicy in it, but this, it made sense. I get it. I get why it was in there. But all in all, this one was crazy. Again, do I think that this needed to be at the top of the list? No, not even close to the top of the list. I think Cow's needed to be number friggin' 1. This was crazy. So those are my splatterpunk books. Do I think that I'm a splatterpunk girly at heart? No. I think that the way that people write splatterpunk books, a lot of them are just not my style of writing. I don't like the language. That's probably the biggest issue that I have with those type of books. Can't stand the language, the words that they use to describe things. not good at all. It's like the words that I can't stand hearing in the English language that they use the most of, and it's just not for me. A lot of gross things were happening. Bathroom stuff I can't deal with. So a lot of that type of stuff was happening. And again, just gross. I don't like gross and dirty and disgusting and slobby. So for that to be in a lot of it, I feel like not a fan, don't like that. But hey, if it's not super sexual and if it's not super, you know, gross like that, and if it's just gory, I don't mind it. Like a slasher, I guess. That's one thing, but these were not slashers. They were very much gross. Those are the 3 that I ended up picking up for this. That's gonna be the only splatterpunk that I read here. And I think we are coming up on the end, so I do want to get through one more book at least for this video. And for that one, I want to do, I already forgot the name, 19 Claws and a Blackbird. I think this is gonna be the last book that we read. Hopefully this will end up being easier to get through. It's not gonna be as gross. And they're just a bunch of little short stories. Hopefully I like them. Hopefully they're good. I don't know though. I don't like things that are too short, but we'll see. I'll let you know what I think. I have finished 19 Claws and a Blackbird. I will go ahead and say that I went into this one knowing that I wasn't going to rate this one super highly, with it being just a combination of a bunch of little short stories. Me reading short stories like that, I don't really have enough plot to really get into them at all, especially with most of them being like under 3 pages. There definitely wasn't a lot to digest with these, so I was not anticipating it to be a super highly rated book. Now that being said, I did still really enjoy the stories. There were some that I didn't really process fully. I think me reading all of this in one go instead of in between other books definitely was my mistake that I made there. I think if I would have read these in between stuff, I would have enjoyed them a lot more rather than me going through and reading them all in one go. I wasn't really super into that many of them, so me going on reading another story was just kind of like speed reading a bunch of books and then just going straight into the next one without sitting and digesting or anything like that. It definitely was not bad, again, but my preferred reading style is definitely not anything short like this that I can't super get into. So I think for that, this one just, it wasn't as high on my list, unfortunately, but nonetheless, finished it. It was still pretty good. That being said, this is going to be the last book that I read for this video. I have spent all of October reading horror books in attempt to try to find a scary horror book, and needless to say, I don't think that I've found that. I will go through. I don't think that I'm gonna do any type of recap video or anything like that, since most of these books have just been read in this video. There's not really gonna be anything that I haven't touched on, so I'll go ahead and just get through all of my ratings, and then I will also give them a rating based off of how scary I found them, or if I found them scary or not, because that's kind of the whole point of doing the video. So the first book that I ended up reading for this video was Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. This one I started while we were at a funeral, so probably not the best place to pick this book up. I ended up giving this one a 1 star. I just didn't care for it. Like I said, the beginning bits were decently interesting, but anything past that, I didn't care. It was very much like The Walking Dead type of thing. They have all these people that are, you know, possessed, zombified, whatever, because they have been infected, and then the normal people are trying to stay away from them, because I think the infected people, or I don't know what to call them exactly, but they were trying to kill the main people and all that stuff. So that it was very weird, and I didn't really like the traveling and all that type of stuff. I didn't really care for The Walking Dead. Like I said, it reminds me kind of that same travelers dealing with the zombies, whatnot. So after that point, I was just kind of over it, and like I said, just trying to get on with it as fast as humanly possible. So 1 star on that one. And then for my scariness rating, I would end up giving this one about a 1 out of 5. There was one singular part in the very beginning that I was a little bit on edge. And again, a little bit on edge. I'm not talking like crazy, anything like that. It wasn't me holding my breath. It just ever so slightly, there was a little section, in the very beginning where he is trying to, I don't know if his mom is in a closet or something like that. Somebody is hiding, he doesn't know where somebody is, and ends up, I'm, waiting for him to get attacked. So it's kind of like a jump scare that I was waiting on, and it had me a little bit nervous for that. Other than that, nothing else was scary in it. So I will give it a 1 for that simple fact that there was a little heart racing that I had going on there. Again, other than that, not scary at all. Then I read Graveyard Shift. This one was definitely a very boring book in my opinion. I'm so sorry. I think it had potential to be kind of interesting. It definitely was spooky vibes, but just overall, I didn't really care. I wasn't into the characters, I didn't care about what was going on. Again, the idea that 5-6 people in this graveyard together at odd hours of the night to go on break is very fascinating, and then a random grave is there that they don't know how it got there, but them trying to figure out how, when, where, why, especially in a like 120 something page book, you're really not going to get that far, and it's really not going to be that interesting. I gave this one a 2-star. It definitely wasn't bad, like I said, but there was no part of me that wanted to read it, so that's why I give it so low. And then scariness rating at 0. I was not scared at all. No part of this got me nervous or anything like that. I read Spread Me. That book was just, it was just weird, okay? I've never experienced or read a book that had anything like someone being attracted to a virus before. This book, I don't know if the main thing at hand, I don't know if it was a virus, if it was like an alien, if it was just some random thing. I don't know what it was, but never in my life did I expect the main character to be attracted to it. This one I very much wanted to DNF as well. It just uncomfortable, very uncomfortable being, again, it really just boils down to this lady being attracted to this thing that they're doing research on. It just, very odd, very uncomfy. I did not like that at all. I wanted to DNF it, but I ended up not DNFing it. I did give it a 1 star, again, just because this was something that I wanted to DNF, and if I wanted to and I just kept through it, probably just a 1 star is where it fits. Again, weird, just very weird. For scariness rating, this one is a 0 as well. I'm not even just gonna give them 1 star because it's like, oh yeah, no, not scary at all. It doesn't even belong on the scale at all. No part of this scared me. There was not any type of nervousness. I'm not clenching my pearl, nothing. It just 0. Then I read Wreckage. I believe this one's a debut novel if I'm not mistaken. This one, it definitely wasn't like a horror book to me. It didn't scream scary. It was just this guy that gets in a plane crash and then he's trying to find a way to get out, find a way to get back to his family, his normal life. So he's kind of wandering around trying to see if someone's going to come rescue him, whatnot, and then also see if anybody else is alive. Very interesting. Again, it's just not very scary. The only thing that I will say, this one was very plot twisty. The whole time it was kind of doing some little twists and turns. I wasn't really sure what direction we were going to take it in. I didn't know where exactly we were going to end up. Obviously, I was very aware that something was going to happen and that there was going to be a twist at the end. Now, the exact twist, did not get that one, but obviously, like, something's coming. Like, it's quite obvious, but very much mind-bending. I definitely really liked it. I gave this one a 4 star. Do I think that it was scary at all? No, absolutely not. I don't even think that there was really much that was gross, gory, anything like that. So this one is a 0 in my book for the scariness factor, but 4 out of 5 in terms of just storyline. It was actually really good. I enjoyed it very much and not scary at all. Then I read Nothing But Blackened Teeth. This one was so highly anticipated for me. I mean, so highly anticipated. I was so eager to read this. I wanted to read it so bad. I've had it forever. I think that the whole idea of it's great. I just don't think that this was properly executed in my opinion. I still think it was good, don't get me wrong. I think that the characters were interesting. I think that the whole overall storyline and the way that it was done was still good to read, but I think that I wish that there was more in this. I wish that I could have gotten more out of it. I think if it was maybe like 50 to 100 pages longer and we were kind of drawing out the main part of it, then I think I would have liked it a little bit more. But with just how short it was and how it felt kind of rushed whenever we got to the main issue, I guess, it needed a little bit more for me to really enjoy it. Like I said, if we would have just gotten a little bit extra at the really juicy part before we start figuring out where the ending is going, I think that would have made it even better. I gave this one a 3-star. I wanted it to be so much higher. I wanted it to at least be a 4-star, but again, just not enough substance for me. So I gave it a 3-star, and then scariness rating 0. I wasn't scared at all. Again, no point in this was I worried, anything of the sorts, not scary. Then I read Cows. This book, I could sit here and talk your ear off. I could tell you a million things about this. I could go in and I could tell you each individual little thing that happened that just had me rolling over ready to die. I could do that, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to say that much about it just because I think I talked enough about it whenever I first finished it. This book, I have never experienced anything so gross in my life. I have a very high tolerance with anything, I feel like. I have a very high gross tolerance. I have an extremely high gore tolerance. Blood, guts, whatever. I don't care, right? Very high tolerance, I feel like. But this book, it hit my one thing. The one thing that I absolutely find that I can't deal with. I cannot deal with feces. I can't do it. 10 out of 10 times, if I'm like actually thinking about it, I will gag. I can't do it. And this book was so heavy on it. So heavy on it. And I can't do that. I can't do it. This book was awful. It was so gross. I'm not even gonna say anything more about that. I gave it a 1-star. There were 2 points that I almost DNF'd this book, and I didn't because I just needed to see it through. I needed to finish it. Absolutely awful, atrocious. I would never ever in my life read it, nor would I ever in my life recommend it to anybody. Unless if they've got this super specific taste that, you know, they like this, then maybe, but nope. Not for me, not for me. And then on scariness rating, absolute 0. It was not scary at all. It was just gross. Then I read 100% Match. This one was about this guy, and he was trying to use statistics and whatever to find somebody that was 100% suitable to him, and they were gonna be 100% compatible. He ends up finding a lady and then finds out that they are 100% compatible, but just in the complete opposite way that he was expecting. Very interesting. I will say that this book was kind of gross, not as gross, but there were definitely little bits and pieces that I was kind of cringed out at. Again, feces, I can't do it. We had a couple bits of that. Why? I don't know, but we did. Can't do that. Absolutely don't like that. But this one was definitely not as intense by any means. I would say maybe at the end of every chapter or so there would be something intense that was happening, but just on a very, very minuscule level. It wasn't anything too crazy, but it was just happening and you knew about it, and then they would kind of continue on. It was something that they were keeping on doing, they were consistently doing it, but not at the point that we were visualizing it every single way through the book. Scariness rating, 0, not scary at all, but I gave it a 3-star. I really enjoyed it. Definitely short, sweet, to the point. It wasn't too long, wasn't too short. I think I got everything that I needed out of it, which is hard to do in my opinion. Then I read Womb. This one is about it's kind of about a hotel room, essentially. If you watch Pretty Little Liars, it reminds me of that little hotel that they use for that one. Just kind of off the beaten path. Nobody ever goes there anymore except for this guy. He ends up booking a hotel room and orders a prostitute while he's there. And the whole time he's with this prostitute, he's kind of prepping her for this ultimate thing that he wants to do. She doesn't know it yet. She just kind of thinks that he's doing his thing, but he is prepping her for the ending, essentially. And while he's prepping her for the ending, he is going through telling her stories about a lot of things that have happened to different people in this motel room, people that have died in there, people that have tried to kill people in there. But once he gets to the end, he finally lets her know the intense things that have happened to him in his life, also in that motel room. And then we get to the end where he is trying to do his masterful act, and that happens. Obviously I got through okay, but there were a couple bits that I did not love getting the full details on. Not that it was anything that was super gross to me, but just kind of like, do we need to put this in the book? But this one, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of struggling with a 3 and 4-star rating on this one because there were some subject matters that I didn't really care for, the extent of them being pictured. I kind of want to keep it at a 3-star, but then also whenever I look at some of the other ones that I gave a 3-star, I kind of think that it was higher than those, to which I kind of want to give it a 4-star, but I think I'm going to end up keeping it about a 3-star. I think that's what's going to end up happening. If I do change it, I will put it on the Goodreads, so you keep an eye on it there. But that's kind of where we're at right now. I think I'm gonna keep it at a 3-star, but in terms of scariness, absolute 0, nothing, and it was scary, I don't think. And then obviously the last one that we read was 19 Claws and a Blackbird. I already told you what I thought about this one. I gave it a 3-star. I enjoyed it, but again, I wish that I would have read it in between other books. I think that I would have liked it a lot more if I did that. And then scariness rating, all in all, I gave it a 0. I don't think that it was scary at all. Not a single one of these books scared me. I think some of them were kind of interesting, and some of them were a little odd and very much out there. So those are all the books that I read for this. Obviously, I didn't find any of them scary. I don't think that any of them startled me. I don't think any of them gave me the scary book vibe that I was looking for. Obviously, I want something like a horror movie scary that's going to actually get me a little nervous, get me on the edge of my seat, but I didn't get that, unfortunately, even though that's what I was wanting. That's what we were here for. Did not get that at all, except for just ever so microscopically and Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. But those are all the books that I read. Again, not anything that spooked me. I don't know if I have high tolerance or what the deal was, but definitely not scared. Not scary at all. So in my professional opinion, as of right now, I don't think that horror books are scary. As of right now, does that mean that I won't find one in the future that I think is absolutely terrifying? No, not at all. I'm still going to be on the hunt. I'm still going to keep my eyes peeled for something. If there is any horror books that I did not read in this video that you think are absolutely terrifying, like what I am wanting, let me know and I will try them out at some point. But just like I said, from what I read in this video, definitely not spooked at all. If there are any books in here that I did read that you have read also and you have thoughts and opinions on and you want to share them, please feel free to let me know. If you've read Cows, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. Give it to me. If there's anything that I didn't get from the book that I was supposed to on a deeper level, please let me know. We definitely might try this again at some point. So like I said, just leave them down below. Give me comments on recommendations of books that you want me to read that you think might be scary, and then we might try a part 2 of this video. But that's pretty much it. That's all I've got for you guys. All of the books that I read for this will be linked down below, so if you do want to check any of them out and get any of them, you will be helping me out a little bit, which I appreciate so much. But as always, I greatly appreciate you for being here, and I hopefully will get to see you in the next one. See ya!